Welcome to one of the most exciting days, or what I believe is one of the most exciting days in show jumping. It is Sunday of the Masters tournament. It is the CP International brought to you by Rolex. A very exciting day, very tough courses, difficult for the horses and the riders. That's what Spruce Meadows is about and it's known for. So they really have to be on the top of their game. One of the most exciting days that I remember at the Masters in the CP International brought to you by Rolex was when Scott Brash won the Grand Prix, which also meant that he won the Rolex Grand Slam of show jumping. He won in Geneva, Switzerland, Aachen, Germany, and then here in Calgary. It was very exciting. What was so very special about that was you saw all the riders at the in gate and they were cheering for him, which is so nice to see. It really is a special event. It has historic winners. Nick Skelton won it 4 times, the Whitakers, Ian Miller, 3-time winner. It's always exciting and it always comes down to the last horse. Many times we've never had a jump off, only one clean, and many times it's been won by a time fault. So sit back and enjoy today's Masters.
You can call it dreams or goals or objectives, whatever you want, but I think it's important to have a goal or a dream. Something that there's some possibility that you could accomplish.
The Spruce Meadows Masters.
Welcome to the Sunday edition of the 2020 Spruce Meadows Masters at Home. I'm Connor Charlton, Competitions Manager here at Spruce Meadows. We're standing outside the International Jump Storage that is home to the world's largest championship jump collection. The world's best gather on Sunday of the Spruce Meadows Masters to tackle one of the biggest challenges of the year. It's no easy task to set a track for the world's best to compete on. The course is often one of the most difficult in the world. At Spruce Meadows, the course designers are asked to create a course that is highly technical, true to size, with some of the world's most unique obstacles. In 2012, we caught up with a team of course designers to find out exactly what it takes to build a test for the world's best athletes.
My name is Leopoldo Palacios.
My name is Guilherme Jorge.
My name is Peter Grant.
My name is Anthony D'Ambrosio.
My name is Van Dijk. I'm from Germany.
I'm from Brazil.
I'm from Canada.
I come from Caracas, Venezuela.
I'm from the United States, and I've been course designing for 15 years.
25 years.
17, 18 years.
5 years full-time is my profession.
A lot of years.
Course designing means you never stop learning. If you say, now I know everything, then you should retire.
You're not inventing any new notes. You're just putting them together in a different way. Hopefully in a way that is harmonious and rhythmical, the same as music's.
Every day of my life, I start with a blank page.
Course designing for me is more than a profession, is a way that I found to be on the top of the sport.
I'm very lucky to have a position in life doing something that I really love, keeping me close to a sport that I grew up in.
I don't know when it's Sunday, when it's Saturday, I don't know. I do this for passion of what I like.
I like to promote good course designers all over the world. And for sure, I will find one who can build the Olympus in 2024.
It's an equestrian family that seems to stay together and something that one can do for life, basically. It's a job for life.
Welcome to the 1976 Spruce Meadows Masters, and this afternoon we'll be featuring highlights of the...
Ian Miller and Big Ben, our 1991 Limited.
Are you ready?
I hope so, Ian. This is going to be really exciting.
The art, the science, the lifestyle of international course design. It's a lifetime in the works, never completed. Spanning borders, cultures, and generations. Cemented by the love of the sport and a passion for horses.
For everything, I feel I love horses. And for many years, I was a rider before. And when I born, my father was the president of the Club Hípico Caracas, the riding club in Venezuela. And I've been with horses all my life. My older brother was a rider. I come from a horsey family.
Well, I grew up in a family of horses, so there's always been the affinity towards horses. And the other thing that was always prevalent in my life was the sport aspect. You know, sports have been a big thing for me. I was more leaned towards baseball when I was in high school and wasn't involved as much with the horses. But as I went to college and came back to it, it really reconnecting the horses and seeing the jumping sport as opposed to some of the other equine events really was a combination for me that worked really well, I guess, with the sport, and it just kind of took off from there.
Course designing for me has been a wonderful occupation to transition to. I've been a professional horseman since my late teens. I was a Grand Prix rider, an international rider, and I feel that I'm fortunate to have found an occupation that keeps me close to the sport that I love and involved to the extent that I'm involved at the highest level.
I rode for 10 years and I jumped up to juniors only, but I always loved the sport and to be involved in it. I think course designing gives you a chance to be a real part of it, since you kind of set up the stage where the athletes they're gonna play, they're gonna perform.
I started my career because I was not very happy with the work my colleagues did in the past. So I thought, okay, I would like to do it in a different way, different ideas. So then suddenly I found out that this is what I love, what I need, what I like, what I want to do.
The foundation for success is built through lessons learned, influential teachers, mentors, and an eagerness to learn. There are no shortcuts. Success is built through listening and doing from the ground up.
This is course designing. You need experience. You need experience, and this is the most important thing. Even if you are here now in the international ring, if you will build this too early in your career, you cannot survive. Because you need a lot of knowledge, a lot of experiences. Okay, I know this works. And if you're not sure, then you have no chance.
If you want to prove how much you know, don't overdo it. You know, a lot of guys want to come in and set the big fancy Olympic course when they're set their first time at 3 foot, and that's set appropriate courses, I think, has been the biggest lesson for me over the last few years. So
I have been in a lucky position that I met the right people at the right time. I met Olaf Petersen very early in my career. I met him the first time in '86, and he supported me a lot. He showed me the beauty of the sport, what we can do, and he always said, take care for the young ones.
For me, I looking ahead and realizing that I was not going to be able to have a riding career for my entire life, and that I wanted to stay close to the horses and to the sport, I started to do some course design while I was still competing. And I was fortunate enough to have competed over courses designed by some of the best in the world. Pamela Carruthers, for instance, Leopoldo Palacios, Olaf Petersen, people who challenged me in a way that I thought was very interesting and made sense. And as I began to course design, I, of course, was influenced by them. I utilized some of their techniques and some of their tests and developed, of course, my own style as I progressed.
I've been very fortunate here to spend a lot of time with Guilherme Jorge, Anthony D'Ambrosio, and Werner Dieg as well. And I think the most important thing, you're going to develop your style and your tracks to your own liking eventually. In the beginning, it's a little bit more of not copying so much, but your style is more, okay, I work with Anthony quite a bit, or I work with Guy, so I'm going to combine these a little bit, and it's not too varying off of their philosophy, and then you make adjustments.
I started in local shows back in my hometown, Campinas in Brazil. Then whenever a foreign course designer came there to build a bigger show, I would hook into them and try to get to learn, and that's how I met Leopoldo. He's always very for the horses and for the sport, very concerned about the safety and the welfare of the horse. He's also one of the people that I know that gives more to the sport. He's always thinking about a way to improve our sport or to do something to get the sports better. So we have a long friendship now, we're very good friends, and there are a lot of things that I got from him on my course designing. Also, I was very lucky to work with many other important course designers early on also, so I tried to pick what I thought was good from each of them to kind of create my own style.
I started working at that time in Venezuela, coming a lot of time Pamela Carruthers. I was a rider at that time too, riding and assisting her and this, and after I assisting Arno Gego a lot too. Come from Germany, and he was the core designer of Aachen for 20 some years. I have the fortune to working with him and learning from him.
Pamela Carruthers' legacy to the sport is clear. In some of show jumping's most storied venues, the signature of her talent, standards, and vision continues.
When I started core designing, Pamela was in the ambient like God. You know, for me, she was God. Pamela come to Venezuela and I started working with her. And he was strict. Ooh! Oh, she was like a general of the army. She make me working that day. Leopoldo, you need to do this. You need to do that. You know. But I understand her, and I really like to learning from her.
She was very demanding. Dimensionally, she built to spec. She never was shy about putting the jumps up. We jumped quite big over her courses. But she was very considerate of the horses and riders, always fair, presented challenges that were both educational and also very, very, very challenging.
I think that the one person who was instrumental in supporting us was Pamela Carruthers, who was the course designer and built courses that were able to provide us with good sport, but with an eclectic group of athletes, in that you had really high performance athletes and then some that were struggling. But she was able to build a course to be able to cope with both.
She always cared about those animals, and she brought them along. If it was raining and miserable, she knew how to change the course quickly enough that no one recognized that there was any change, but she was sensitive enough to the design that she made it right for the athletes.
She helped me. The reality, she helped me a lot. That technology, I learned from the books. Philosophy is the more important on the back of everything in the life. Philosophy, what you want to do and why you want to do it. And she has a fantastic philosophy.
The thumbprint Pamela Carruthers left behind is filled with passion and inspiration. Her philosophies, as with all great philosophies, stand the test of time. The task seems simple. Design a test for horse and rider, requiring both to answer the questions asked: technical, mental, physical. As the horse and rider learn, so too must the course designer.
When I first started as a course designer, the course designers and my teachers, Pamela, and them, they don't work in scale, mostly. They come and they do it by feeling. And I start working in scale, but from my background of construction, I start to do in scale, and I pass hours and hours and hours.
To be honest, it was a disaster. All these ideas I had before, and then the riders come to me and say, hey, this is too big, you have to reduce it. The next one comes, oh, this is not too big, you have to do something. So I couldn't balance with that. I had no idea. I always, okay, I was a rider and I was jumping very successful in international competitions, but it's a different story. Suddenly you are in the focus of everybody. As a normal rider, nobody takes care of you. So now suddenly you are, wow. And everybody is coming and try to make a lot of influence in you and put a lot of pressure on you. So at the end of the day, I think, I remember it was a 125 or 130 competition, and I had out of 40 horses, I had 35 clear rounds because I was too afraid to do it.
Well, when I first started, I feel that I was very conservative in my approach. I didn't try to do anything that was overly complex. I think I went with a very traditional format, very traditional tracks. And through the years, gradually became more complex and more demanding in terms of technicalities.
Well, I surely remember many of the first ones. I remember the first time I went to São Paulo to build a course in the main club, in one of the main clubs in Brazil, and I was thinking they were going to give me the smaller ring and they give me the big ring, which was only 1.30 m competition, but for me it was already a big step up. And I remember for sure the first time I came to North America, that was in Canada, in Bromont, and I arrived and I had no idea about the feet and inches. We use metric in Brazil, and I arrived here and it was hard on that. And I got the price list and it said the modified class, and I said, well, it's modified from what? You know, so I really had no idea about the...
It's actually kind of a funny story. began working at a facility in Vancouver when I was, college summer job, and learned more and more there. And one day I showed up, and the course designer for the third jumper ring, he decided he had enough of that horse show and quit and left, and I kind of get it handed by default. My first courses were, the thing with them was they were just so basic. It was a small arena, and it was just get them from one end of the arena and back again. And I know for the first 3 days, and I didn't even have a combination on course, so I'm doing 75, 80 centimeter jumpers, so they don't really need that. But and then it came to the weekend, and we had a class that required a triple combination and stuff. So all of a sudden, then it's, you set that stuff once, and the questions start rolling in your head, and you get more answers. And if I look at all that work, I couldn't say this is what is bad about it. It's just like, what was I doing? But on the same token, I never killed anybody, and was, I think, fair and safe to the horse and rider, which is, I think, a big lesson for young course designers.
The palette on which the course designer paints has a huge variety of options, limits, and considerations. Each design an original. From the mind's eye to paper to reality, it's a very personal process.
Every day of my life, I start with a blank paper. I have the course and all the fixed jumps that I can't move, the water jump, the bank says, and I start dreaming where I go.
I like to play a little bit with colors and with a typical design, not too transparent. So what means the whole variety. Some fences we use, let's say, in a 140 competition with only 3 rails. Then in other fence we have 3 rails in the gate, or 3 rails in a blank or whatever.
Sometimes you sit down and it's just, it all just flows out at once. I find that my approach to how I sit down changes kind of to day.
What is a good flow? Not the flow that you're thinking is good. Some people like it dancing bolero, some people like to dance in rock and roll. Both are good, and depends.
I like to think of my designs as being relatively flowing, but with complex questions throughout the course. Sometimes I'll have my plan, my basic track, which is not yet refined, in 10 minutes. Sometimes it can take an hour. It's just a question of how easily the design that I'm satisfied presents itself to me.
I'm always playing a little bit, then if I have no idea anymore, I go and I say, okay, I come back after 1 hour and perhaps I have a new idea, or next day.
Some days you have creativity and everything coming easy, and some days you stay there and you never been happy with yourself. The first thing in core designing is you need to be happy with you.
I am a bit demanding about what I will accept personally to put forth, so it's not always an immediate process, but sometimes it amazes me how quickly it can come.
You have to stop and say it's done, because even if you think there's always something you can improve, or you think you can improve. My goal is to use a little bit of everything, size, scope, distance, and also a little bit of the time allowed also, in order really to try to get the best horse-rider combination to win.
I feel that I'm a bit demanding on rideability. I like to test a rider's ability to control their horse's stride. And it's also important to me to have some options on a course where a horse that is a bit short-strided may have a very good chance. You don't have to do things in only one way.
I think our main idea must be that we have to lead the horses in the education process. Let's say we have a competition for 150, and then in the next competition we have young horses 125. We use the same fences, the same line, the same track, This is not possible because we ask for something in big competitions what young horses cannot answer because they are not experienced enough, they are not educated enough.
You know, when you're course designing for young horses, you want to set, learn distances that encourage them to jump properly, set them in a good place. I have to admit, in the beginning, the first year or two, I went out and set some courses that were way too difficult.
The material itself, it's interesting. I mean, the colors of jumps, the patterns that rails are painted, all can have an effect on the course. Vividly striped rails, for instance, really make a horse focus and pay attention and are easier in a sense than muted, solid colored rails. If I want something to be difficult visually, I may pick something that is of a solid color and a muted color that will demand that a horse truly be trying to focus, not just focusing because something is so vivid and bright and the contrast is so great that they are drawn immediately to it. I like to see that sometimes a rider can focus the horse's attention on something that doesn't jump right out at them, so to speak.
I never do a course without reasons. This is something that is very important for me. I say, okay, in my plan, I will use the water jump. And after I say, okay, the water jump I have need to be number 5. It's more difficult if it's number 8 or number 10. More, I want difficult. And after, and for this, I start to have this, where I use the triple combination here, where I use the double there, and start to thinking in reasons. And when I have all the reasons together, I try to put all the reasons in a flow line. And this is this coming and start moving and sometimes coming June, and sometimes been there. And I say at the end, I will change some of the reasons too. and I start to moving and being every day I try to give it different things to the riders, different tests.
The artistic and technical realities of course design will ultimately meet, but where that line is not so easy to tell. Laid out with precision and purpose, the course is often modified with feeling and instinct. Distances that have been measured with unremitting accuracy are now tweaked, because this will ride better.
The technical aspects is when you get to the height and distance, and of course the way you build a jump, you construct a jump, if it has a gate or a wall or things like that, it's influence the way it's jumped and if it's easier or harder to jump. But then the aesthetic part comes to the way we present the sport to the spectators and to the public in general. So I think it's a good mix of both. I think it has a lot of architecture in it. I think you can quite well compare to architecture.
I work in construction all my life, and that give it to me a lot. That give it to me a lot to placing, to draw the scales and the spaces.
It's a question of utilizing the space in an area that is both attractive and logical.
The technical stuff is almost more important at the younger levels because the riders and the horses need to be taken care of more. Whereas as you get to the bigger stuff, they're going to be able to handle themselves a little bit. But I think really too, it's important for the horses' development that they, even at a young age, that they jump creative, interesting courses.
We have two things. We need to be as a chef and as an architect. As a chef, that we have all the tools that we have, colors, speed, distances, height, spread, turning, mentality, pressure of the rider. We use everything. And when we put too much of one ingredient, we don't have a good class. We need to put a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of the other, and we have a good soup, it's like a chef. And in the other hand, an architect, you're going to do a project of your house, and you tell, I have 2 children, I want 2 rooms, and 1 room for the guest, and 1 dining room, and my dining room I like to be for this much of people, and in there they place everything in the good position and workable.
Sometimes I will design from scratch on the computer, but I also enjoy and find myself using pen and paper for the initial design to get because I can be anywhere with a pad and paper. I don't have to be hooked up to my computer, so to speak. I can take a pad of paper and a drawing of the ring and be anywhere that I would like to be and design.
Sometimes I do, I start from the computer. Most of the time, especially on a big ring like this that I can get a better flow of the course, I start by hand and then I adjust it and I play back and forth from the computer to the free hand.
Rarely ever use pen and paper. Quite often what I do is I'll be in the ring and, like I said, on a Wednesday, I'll look in the ring. I like a ring that's not rectangular because they tend to give you inspiration on how to create a new, interesting type of the ring. Like, just if a ring has a special feature, I'm gonna try and use that in an interesting way. So I might get out, say, okay, for Wednesday, I want to have 1, 2, 3 here in this part of the ring, and then I'll go down to my computer and really piece the rest of it together. But I work very much, I think, on the computer in a way that some of the guys that grew up using pen and paper work. Like, for me, it's a lot of moving. I have different pieces and I'm seeing what works, as opposed to Anthony or Guillerme that has their pen and paper drawing, and once they've got everything worked out, then once they're on the computer, it's just bam, 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 and it's in place. I'll do a lot more playing with it, I think.
Computer for sure makes life easier for us, but I'm still planning in the old system, what means I plan at home with the wooden pieces. I have a big table in my office. I mark exactly the ring and the natural fences, and then I have wooden things like that. That depends of the fences, there's 6 meters. So, and then I play like the children are doing it. And then I play, and if I'm happy, I say, it's okay, it's good, it's fine. And then I say, okay, now it's good, I put it on the computer. I can think in scale. I make always 1 to 100, so I can think in scale and say, okay, now it's good, it looks nice, we cover the whole arena, all the spectators are satisfied, and then we go to the next one.
Many people say, you have a computer, you do the computer do the course. No, the computer is a tool. It's exactly like a ruler that you're doing. It's a better ruler that you measure and faster. This is what is the computer at the end, and you need to understand in the paper and understand on the computer.
There are many different ways of doing the work. There's a lot of course designers that still does it on by hand and on the ground a lot. I think there are just tools that we get, but I think that it's still more important to know what you're doing really on the ring.
We need to know about physics, how move the horses, how we do in everything, how we straight the horses, and this is easy to learn. Not easy, you study and you learn. In the other side, you need to study art, colors, things, the beauty of the sport, and have a philosophy of the beauty. It's very important. For course designing, beauty of the course is something very important. But even make the horses jumping better when it's beautiful. Normally it's like this. When you have an ugly course, the horses don't jumping good. I think they have the same taste as us.
Course designing is not strictly an individual exercise. It's collaborative and requires great teamwork, a cooperative environment, and an attitude that is open to sharing, critique, and outside analysis.
All my life, I am a team player. I think my success in this is not my success. It's the success of a team.
I think there are some groups that naturally get together. Like here we have a strong group that are used to work together, like Anthony D'Ambrosio, me, and Leopoldo. We've been working together in many important shows. Like last year, Anthony was the course designer of the World Cup final. I was TD, and Leopoldo was one of his assistants. We really try to get each other's opinions, and it always helps a lot.
For sure we do, and we watch, and we let's say if Leopoldo is building and I see on TV, I watch very interesting what they are doing, how they are playing with the results, how they come to the result. This is course designing means you never stop learning. If you say now I know everything, then you should retire.
At Spruce Meadows, with 6 competition arenas and many times 6 different international course designers, we have an opportunity to work side by side in our office, exchange ideas, ask for advice on certain aspects, be it the level of competition that we would expect from week to week. The actual communication, first-hand communication, an opportunity to work together and learn from one another and help one another is unique, and it's also one of the more pleasurable and interesting aspects of working for me here at Spruce Meadows.
Here with Guilherme and Anthony and Leopoldo, Leopoldo is very much the teacher at the top of the pyramid for our group, and so he's influenced very much Anthony's style, and Guilherme, I can see a lot too, has been influenced by Leopoldo. And at the same token, I can see where each of them has put their own taste and flavor. Or there's someone like Werner, who I appreciate very much as a course designer, which a very different philosophy in the type of track. That's been interesting, which has helped me to have two very different schools of course designing, and being able to have access to both of them has been a huge advantage.
These are some white balls. In my ring, in the meadows on the green, round one. I am still learning every day. I study and I see what the other course designers doing. Working here as a technical delegate and in different places as a technical delegate and looking at another course designer what they doing, I'm learning a lot too. This is a road that never finish. We need to learn about the horses. It's something that to understand them is very difficult, and I think I started yesterday. I need to learning a lot in my life. I still need to learning a lot.
Strong character and broad shoulders are needed, as expectations from trainers, coaches, and the riders themselves are high. Varying opinions can be strong, but it's done to build the sport to its highest level.
The relationship I have with the course designers is very positive. They steer the sport. The course designers have the ultimate, in my eyes, have the ultimate power over the sport. They define the direction of the sport, where it's going. So it's very important to have a top course designer that really has a vision, not just of that class, but a vision of the future of the sport.
I didn't have Grand Prix experience, so I was always very open to the opinion of the riders. Was one of my ways to get the feedback on and to learn about what I was doing. When you start getting experience, you learn that from whom you can listen, that it's a valid comment, and which is very important. But I try to be very open, and even if I cannot change something that they came and ask, I'll keep that in mind and see what was the reason to do that. So I try to be very open and talk as much as I can.
The pole and the vertical don't the double vertical there. You don't move more?
Well, we work on that.
I'd like to tell them what I think is good and what I think is bad. If I see something that I think is too difficult, I'm not shy to go to them and say I don't agree with this line, or if this is really necessary. But you know what? The good course designer, they go to the riders. As they see them walk the course, you'll often see them coming to the rider and say, what you think, get their input. And you know, you can't make all the riders happy. There's some that are going to say they don't like this, they don't like that. I mean, that's, a course designer cannot start moving the fences up and down just based on every riders they talk to.
It's a lot of oxers. Like, there's nobody going to sneak along with a nothing horse.
They walk the course because they know their horses. And they try to put a little bit pressure on us and say, please, can you build for my horse? But we cannot follow this idea. Okay, if some riders come and say, look, this oxer seems a little bit too big, can we reduce the spread? I can discuss that. But if one rider is coming and say, okay, this vertical is too big, reduce it, and the next rider comes that this oxer is too big, so no. You have to be very strict with that case, and for there, it's very important that you know what you do.
I expect that they're on their game, certainly when they're at an important competition. My courses will be challenging. I will ask them to be able to control their horses very well. My jumps will be of a careful nature.
I like to encourage open conversation with the riders. So I try to be very fair to them, listen to them. The only thing I ask is if they have a question or a problem, come approach me, do it in a professional manner. But really, I feel like my job is more to be here for the riders. And when I'm setting courses, the level that I'm setting at, really what my objective is to see each rider and horse combination jump better at the end of the week.
I think the most important thing is safety. I think all the top course designers in the world, that's one of the reasons they are considered top world-class course designers, are very good about being safe in their construction and building the performance of the horses throughout the week. That's also important, and I think that's, again, the top course designers are very good at that, at trying to build the horse's confidence early in the week and then ask increasingly difficult questions as the week goes on.
You'd like for your horse to be jumping better by the weekend than he started, so the course designer has some responsibility there of not overfacing the horses in the beginning of the week, but also making it challenging enough that they're ready for the weekend. And it's a very difficult job they have, but the best ones do a good job.
It happens sometimes, not too often, that we miss our aim. But this can be a different arguments for that or reasons for that. But this is human.
I go to the riders when I do something that I feeling was not good, and I tell them, excuse me, I make a mistake. They make mistakes too. When they have a pole, they make a mistake. I have the chance to have a mistake too. But we need to admit our mistakes. It's very important. In every phase of the life, I admit less my mistake when I was younger. Older I am, I admit more mistakes.
Respecting the horses, respecting the riders, respecting the traditions and expectations of the sport. Course designing brings with it great responsibility. Every competition brings with it a new course design. A vast knowledge of the rules, the tools, and the competitors is needed to achieve the desired results.
I think one of the most important things is to get a course that is the right level for the participants. If you get that, normally you should get a good result, and with that you should get a exciting class for the public.
For us, it's very important because we need the public. Our sport without public is like a training session in the practice. So we have to satisfy them. We have to make them happy, and they must go back and say, yeah, this is our sport, this is a good sport, we come back, we want to see it again. So in that case, we try to make the spectators happy.
But make me so happy is when I hear in this stadium full of people, I don't know how many, full people inside of the ring, and you don't hear a fly, nothing, and the people maintain the pressure. This is what at the end of the class, this is what I like. I think the success of a course is when you have the better competition. Don't care about the number of cleans.
I think when I first started out, you have a nervousness and an obsession with the number of clean rounds. You know, oh, I had my 7 clean rounds in my 40-horse class, but I had 10 horses stop out. I think really is it an interesting course to watch? Does it hold the crowd's attention? I don't like to think about the number of clean rounds if, for the level that I'm course designing at, if it's an appropriate course and only 7 horses can jump over it, then only 7 can. If 12 can, I don't worry about that so much, as long as it's a good course for them to ride, it's interesting for the crowd, and again, going back to at the end of the week, that they're jumping well over that course.
First of all, I like the results to make sense. I like to feel that the horses and riders who have had the best day are of the very best that day and at the top of their group. I like to also have an exciting competition from a spectator point of view. It's something that I feel that we're putting on a competition and also a show. It has to, if I have a good, exciting competition where the spectators can appreciate the difficulty of the course and appreciate how well a horse and rider combination did to be successful over it, and then perhaps an exciting jump off. That's something that I'm trying to create.
It's very easy to build a course, nobody can jump it. It's very easy to do it. But our main idea should be to bring the best one in front and not to kill the not experienced ones.
Sometimes it doesn't work like that. You know, you have 16 four-fouters, you know, and you have only 2 clears, and you say, oh, there's... And so the jump-off was not that nice. But then, if you have a class with few clears, then the whole first round is very interesting also for the public. We know that if you do a proper course, you're going to end up with something exciting for the crowd.
For designers, we have big responsibility to give it to the crowd a good sport, give it to the riders a challenging competition, and make the best of the day winning the class and being good to the horses.
A course designer must be innovative and ambitious, passionate. As the sport evolves, so too must the designer, setting goals, moving forward.
Well, my constant short-term goal in course design is just to educate myself constantly. The more knowledge, I think, the better perspective you get over everything. Long-term goals, I really would like to be involved in the development of the sport on some level, and I think my easiest way to be involved in that way is the course designer development. I think that the FEI is going forward in a new education system for the course designers that is, I think it's nothing but a good thing.
I start with the FEI, a new project. It's called New Education System for Course Designers. And I am responsible for the whole education in the world for course designers. This is what I like to do. I like to promote good course designers all over the world. And for sure, I will find one who can build the Olympics in 2024. I hope.
It's nice to be able to keep building on the top events. My next big goal is the Olympics back home in Rio in 2016. But my main goal is to be able to be invited back to the important shows I've been doing. So I'm very fortunate to be on the top of the sport.
I hope to continue to do international competitions and to, in time, do more championships. Perhaps someday, who knows, I might be asked, I might be considered to do a WEG or to do an Olympics. I'm going to try to continue to develop my skills.
When I have seminars, my first question always is in a seminar, who will be the course designer in the Olympics 2024? And nobody of these young colleagues said, I want to be that. And that, okay, then I can go home. If you have no aim, I can go home. If you're not interested, why I'm here? Why I'm here 6 days in Australia or wherever in the world? You have to be in aim. And finally, when I finish my seminar, I ask the same question again. And everybody says, yes, we want to do it. So we have to modify them.
If I had to have a storybook ending, at some point I would definitely like to design a major championship. I think that if you enjoy the sport and getting it from the course designing standpoint, that somewhere deep inside all of us want to do that.
In many ways, the course designer helps guide the evolution of the sport. As such, the desire to keep inspired and be forward-thinking is paramount. The path we choose to go down will ultimately carve the legacy we leave behind.
For me, every class, a children competition is a Grand Prix. But it's a Grand Prix for them. A novice competition is a Grand Prix for them. A young horse competition is a Grand Prix for the young horse.
Every class to them is the most important class in the world at that moment. And I think that it's the level that's been presented consistently here that creates that mindset.
If this is not exciting for me anymore, then I retire. Even if I build in Germany, we have a lot of young horses competition. If I build for 5-year-old horses, and if this is not exciting for me, then I stop.
One of the things that Leo says is you're never going to stop learning. As soon as you stop learning, you stop being a course designer. And it's, not only because you get different situations, but I think the horses and riders are continually better and better.
I'd like to be remembered as a horseman first, that as a rider, as a trainer, as a course designer, that I put the horse and the horse and rider first, and that although challenging, was always fair.
All I could ask in the end is that I was considered to be a good horseman. I have a good grasp of the sport, but in the long run where I think it's paramount that we remember it's in the head of right in the front of the FEI charter is, the welfare of the horse is put foremost. But I think being a good horseman encompasses developing the talent, the riders, the sport.
I think somebody that was fair and that to the horses and that designed courses that were pleasant to jump.
He did nothing stupid with the horses. I think this would be the best.
Serious, honest, and good person. And being friend of more people is possible. But every day, when the course is over, you have one good friend, the winner.
From the Netherlands, your champion, Jeroen Dubbeldam.
This job give it to me the opportunity to do something nice for the horses and for the sport. And I really love what I do.
A great course, and by extension, its creator, is the starting point for all great achievements in this sport. As I leave the arena to the athletes, my job is finished. But the learning begins again.